Fated beginnings, karmic endings, destined meetings, aligned reconciliations. We'll cover all of this plus so much more in your special Mercury Retrograde Eclipse Season edition of Magic Monday. Hi, my name is Comet and welcome to Just Your Magic Monday, particularly your Magic Monday astrological horoscope for the week of April 1st to April 7th, 2024, where we are discussing, just as we do every single week here in my cosmic corner of the internet with a cosmic beverage in hand, what is ahead for your week ahead. And furthermore, beyond just discussing the astrology, we also talk about how you can bob and weave with the current cosmos in order to navigate your universe with maximum magic and alignment. That's why we call it Magic Monday. So if that is something that you are into, I would so appreciate if you can consider subscribing and joining us for this weekly ritual to get us in alignment with the astrology, because right now the astrology is a little wild. I'm curious if you all feel it. And there is an ask for peace as we navigate this week's astrology. And you might be saying, Haley Comet, I have not known peace since the sun entered Aries, since eclipse season began. Peace, who is that? I don't know her. Something that you can take solace in as we navigate this season is that things are unfolding exactly as they're meant to. Not how we wanted them to, but they are unfolding as they are meant to. And we may not have clarity on why things are unfolding the way that they are. We have Venus conjoining Neptune midweek, which Neptune energy tends to make murky and blurry and confusing, and it muddies the boundaries between where we stop and other people begin. It makes things a little confusing and hazy. So you may not get the clarity necessarily this week of why things are unfolding this way, but it's important to work that muscle around just trusting and surrendering that things are unfolding as they are meant to. We are currently in the portal between eclipses. We had the Libra lunar eclipse last week. Let me know how that was for you all. I'm so curious. And we are building to the Aries solar eclipse this upcoming Monday, April 8th. And the thing about this period of time is that it is a fated window in which what is meant to enter our life enters our life, what is meant to depart our life departs our life. And the events that are transpiring now do have a deeper level of significance that will make more sense with time. At the moment, it might feel murky and confusing, and for some, it could ultimately feel unfair. A lot of individuals are navigating a lot of pain currently. The next solar eclipse aligns with Chiron. So a lot of us are in this more raw, more vulnerable state of being currently as we navigate this cosmos. And you might be wanting to look up at the universe and be like, why me? Why this? I don't understand why things have to unfold this way. But it's so important to just work that muscle of trust and surrender, understanding that the events that are transpiring, what is entering your life, what is leaving your life, who it is that you're reconnecting with, who it is that you're connecting with. It's important to understand that these dynamics, these themes, these story arcs for your journey will become clearer with time, and it is setting you up for your new beginning, which starts with the Aries solar eclipse on the North Node on Monday, April 8th. So we are leading up to something. And as we work that muscle around trusting that things are unfolding as they are meant to, we equally need to give space to trust that things in the past unfolded as they were meant to, and not get hung up around, why couldn't things go like this? Or with the Venus-Neptune energy this week, fantasizing around, it could have gone like this, or what if I would have said this or done this, then it would have been different. There is a nostalgic tilt to this week's astrology, as on Monday, April 1st, as an April Fool's joke from the cosmos, we do have Mercury retrograde beginning, which is an energy that flips the direction. So rather than being more so concerned about the future, we tend to be a little bit more absorbed or nostalgic of the past. Rather than being so concerned with the external world, we tend to flip the direction to dive into our internal one. Rather than taking more of an active approach, we tend to take more of a passive one. It is wise to go slow, to move, and to speak. We'll get into it intentionally with this Mercury retrograde in Aries, and to, yes, contemplate the past versions of yourself that you have been, but not getting stuck there, not getting stuck in the energy of regret, or what if this could have happened, or what if they would have just got over their stuff and loved me right, or wherever you get stuck around just replaying the same scenario within your mind, or wherever it it is that you get stuck around, what if I would have done this, or I should have taken this chance. What's done is done. As we allow the universe to guide us and support us in where it is that we are going next, we equally need to have allowance around things unfolded as they did. So yes, Mercury retrograde may have you contemplating the past, and yes, this can be helpful data that will be supportive for your new start that is aligning within the cosmos, but it's contemplating on the past, but not getting stuck there, because the next eclipse is on the North Node. You're being launched forward into your future. We have an incredibly opportune aspect building later this month. Your future needs you. Your future selves need you. So try not to beat your past self up too much around, why didn't you do this? Or you should have done this, or you should have tried harder here. Your future needs you. Take the data and keep your gaze focused on the future, trusting it unfolded as it was meant to, and it's currently unfolding exactly as it was meant to. Even if it's not in your plan, it's in the divine's plan. And this is a week for trust and for surrender. So we will go so much deeper into this week's astrology, from Venus conjoining Neptune, Venus entering Aries, Venus sextile Pluto, Mercury retrograde in Aries, do's and don'ts, because I have a lot of thoughts on the don'ts. Okay, you're definitely going to want to tread through this time mindfully. But before we get into all of that, take a step inside my cosmic cafe. Let me know what you are sipping on to start your week. Love the outfit, by the way. Is that a new perfume? Looking good. Navigating eclipse season beautifully. I am drinking, to no one's surprise, not a soul's surprise, I'm drinking a Celsius. This one is a tropical vibe. It is sparkling starfruit pineapple edition. I'm currently bracing the harsh elements of the San Diego spring, aka it's like 62 outside and I can't hang. So I had to inspire some tropical energy to tide me over until we get to summertime. It's been cracking me up lately in consultations when I'm meeting with a client. It's happened quite a bit where they'll pull out a Celsius and be like, I got this because I knew that I was meeting with you today, and it's like the drink you're always drinking. And I'm like, not me being this like unofficial, unpaid spokesperson for Celsius, so much so that you guys are associating me with this drink. Celsius, if you happen to be watching, which I know you're not, but contemplate a Comet vibe. Think about a Comet vibe. I know you have Astro vibe. Think about a Comet vibe. Those are totally different visions and totally different vibes. So just think about it, okay? Just choose me. Love me. Pick me. I know Celsius is not watching and that they're not going to do a Comet vibe, but I'm being a little delusional, which Venus is conjoining Neptune this week. We're all a little delusional. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take it into the astrology with Vibe Check of the Week. So if you are new to Magic Monday, firstly, welcome to the cosmic corner of the internet. Secondly, Vibe Check of the Week is essentially where we take all of this astrology that I'm throwing at you, from the eclipse window to Mercury retrograde to Venus sextile Pluto. If you're unsure what each of those energetics means, this is essentially a summary of what all of those energies feel like. So we compare them to a real life scenario. It's not me literally saying that this exact scenario will play out, but it's more so tune into the vibe, tune into the energetics, tune into the dynamics, and contemplate how that may come to the surface within your universe as you navigate your first week of April. So this week's astrology feels like the following scenario. We will say that you had this first love named Ben. So you and Ben met in high school, and he was your first kiss, your first boyfriend, first guy you took to a dance. Like, so many exciting firsts were with Ben. And it was a very pure, sweet, uncomplicated, simple, playful love. It was just very pure. It was your first love. And you two stayed together for a majority of high school. And when it became time to go to college, it became increasingly apparent that you and Ben would have to separate just by nature of where your journeys were taking you. Ben was staying in town to go to a trade school, and you were going off to a university in a different state. And you knew that it was important to you to go on a journey that was truly your own. As much as that hurt you, as much as it was scary to go out into the world to figure out who it is that you are, to, get hurt, to make mistakes, you knew that you needed to experience life. And you knew that it would be holding both you and Ben back if you guys tried to stay together, make it long distance. Like, it wouldn't allow the new journey that you were taking on to be truly your own. And same goes with him. It was a mutual decision. You both arrived to this decision. But that doesn't make it hurt any less to have to make that decision, and especially since the love that the two of you shared was so uncomplicated and pure. And when we consider Venus conjoining Neptune in Pisces, it's a reminder that love continues to exist on and on and on, even if it takes different shapes and forms. So launching forward into the future of you and Ben's timeline, obviously you're not madly in love with him as you were in high school, as you thought that was love in high school. The experiences of the world have made love show up in deeper, more raw, sometimes even more painful ways, right? It was a very pure puppy sort of love, right? But it's still love, and it might take more shape of a friendship or just like a kinship or just like your heartstrings being pulled to that person. But love exists eternally and stretches on and on, even if it no longer exists in that neat box around, this is my boyfriend. It's like, are we friends? Not necessarily, but we're not together, but I love you, but I'm not with you. Like, with Venus on Neptune, Neptune dissolves the boundaries. And so sometimes when we have relationships in our life, we can have that energy around, what are we? Are we friends? Are we lovers? Like, what are we? Like, Neptune can be kind of fogging the boundaries and fogging the barriers, but nonetheless, the love remains. And I truly am of the belief, again, this might be my Venus Pisces talking, but I truly believe when you deeply love someone, that doesn't fully go away. And again, I don't want anyone who's in a relationship to be like, oh my gosh, does my partner still love their ex-partners? Every love is so different. And it awakens you to different parts of your soul and different parts of your journey. And it's not so neat. It's not so cut and dry around love on, love off. You're either my partner, and then I totally cut off all the adoration, all the appreciation of the soul and the person that you are. It gets messy, it gets complicated, it gets blurry. That's the energy of Neptune. But it's still beautiful and it still endures on. And so we'll say in the vibe check with you and Ben's timeline, you just so happen to run into Ben in the grocery store. And again, though, that flood of emotions, some of which are complicated, like it was so, childlike, pure puppy love, but there's still feelings around what could have been if our past didn't take us in different directions and we were so good together. Keep in mind, Venus Neptune can make us romanticize and have rose-colored glasses around what could have been or what could be. Again, like I said at the beginning, there's elements of this week's astrology that are yanking us into the future and elements where we're contemplating the past. So we'll say you run into Ben at the supermarket when you're visiting town, visiting your family, and you get to catch up. And Ben has this amazing family. He shows you pictures of his children. He's set up his own plumbing business. He has 4 or 5 plumbers who work under him. He's married to an amazing woman. And maybe there's a slight feeling around, what could have been? Like, could that have been me who built this life with him? The bigger part of you knows my journey took me in a different direction. Like, I'm living in this big city. I'm not in a place where I would be able to have children, nor in a place where I would want to stay in this small town. Like, our journeys took us where it is that we needed to go. We were part of one of their stories during that incredibly formative time, that sweet, pure, uncomplicated period of time. And then our journeys took us in different directions. We learned the lessons necessary, and our lives took us elsewhere. And that was a relationship that awakened certain aspects of you, certain aspects of love altogether, helped you become the person that you were meant to be. And that's a very special, sacred thing to share with someone. But there's also just this appreciation around, hey, we're different people. You've got your family and plumbing business. I've got my corporate job as an event planner in the big city. Like, we just had different paths. And there's an appreciation and nostalgia for that time in my life, while also knowing my future needs me. I need to get out of this grocery store. I need to, fly back to the big city. You need to get back to your plumbing business and to your family. And there's a kinship, there's a love, there's an appreciation, but it's a different sort of love. And that's what I mean with Venus-Neptune energy making things fuzzy, because obviously there's no necessarily romantic feelings, like he has a wife and a family, so absolutely not that. But it's not so cut and dry where it's like, could I say that Ben is 100% a friend? Not necessarily. I mean, it was puppy love, but I used to feel very strongly about this person. Would I say that they're an ex? Not necessarily. I have such a kinship with this individual. I couldn't firmly put them in that box as well, but I know that I love them. It's a different sort of love than it was in high school. It's a different sort of love than the love that I have for my friends. It's even a different sort of love that I have for different exes, but that love endures in the way that it's showing up, even if our journeys and our paths have taken us in different directions. direction. So that's the ask this week. I'm not saying everybody's going to bump into their first love at the supermarket when you're visiting home from your big city job as a corporate event planner. But I'm just saying there's this energy around revisiting the past without getting stuck there. Like having that moment of like, aw, like with Venus Neptune, you know, listening to the music that you listened to when you were falling in love with Ben, right? Like the song that was playing when you guys were dancing together at prom and you were just so sure that this was it, that this is going to be the greatest love of your life. And reading even the old journal entries, like allowing yourself to have that moment of, aw, how sweet, that was something so helpful for my journey, but also knowing when it's time to get on with your grocery shopping. Like you have a whole life that needs you. And there's new initiations taking place with the Aries solar eclipse. And if you do run into an ex or you contemplate an ex or somebody from your past, an ex-friend or something of that nature, it's not necessarily that you need to drag them into your future. I mean, absolutely, potentially. Maybe some of them, there might be a role. Maybe you and Ben are able to, you know, create a friendship or keep up with each other on social media or what have you. Maybe there is elements they're meant to take with you into your future, but there can also be elements of leaving the grocery store and just remembering who it is that you were in that relationship or who it is that you were in high school and reflecting on your own growth. Like this is an important time of year to be a little selfish. And we see this with Mercury retrograde in Aries. The sun is in Aries, Venus enters Aries this week. It's important to ask yourself, what is it that I want? What do I desire? Because even going back to that high school experience with Ben, you could have sacrificed what it is that you desired, but you knew you had to put yourself first. You're like, I could maintain this relationship and kind of dim down the experiences that I'm wanting to have and the freedom I'm wanting to claim within my world. But when I get real with myself about the future that I want, I know this is the direction that I want to go. And Ben getting real with himself, he wanted a plumbing business and a family right away. Your journey took you somewhere different, and it takes being honest with yourself in order to move towards your desires. Because we talked a lot last week, by the way, last week's Magic Monday, you'll want to make sure to check that out. We talked a lot about this energy of shedding, needing to be liked or keep things under a veneer in order to feel validated or accepted. Like with the energy of Aries, it's emboldening ourselves as individuals, knowing that that does benefit our connections. But it is this ask, especially with Mercury retrograde in Aries, to come inward and really ask, what do I desire out of my life? With Venus entering Aries, what do I desire around love and relationships? Because the more data that you source, the more you're able to move towards the new start that is aligning for you. So it's not about Ben. It was great to see Ben. It was great to have that awe moment, but it's more so reflecting, what did I learn about myself within that relationship? If the universe is conspiring events during this eclipse window to be showing me what I need to be shown and accelerating what needs to be accelerated, what could that meeting have meant? It's not that Ben is your one true love and you need to run back into Ben's life. It's contemplated, what did I learn about myself with Ben that I can take with me into my current relationship, into my current job, into my current life? What does Ben represent to me? What did I learn about what I need out of life and out of a relationship that Ben is reflecting to me? That's where we get stuck with retrograde energy. Yes, it can make us more nostalgic. It's not that everybody is having somebody from the past come back. Some of you could just be dreaming or reminiscing, looking at old photos. Like it's not that they necessarily need to materialize. But where we get stuck with retrogrades is we make it about the person. Oh, I saw Ben in the supermarket, that means Ben is my soulmate. No, the universe put Ben there to remind you who it is that you were within that relationship. Let's say you're currently, when you interact with Ben at the supermarket, you're currently in a relationship where you're with someone who wants you to change all of your desires and all that you want out of your life in order to move with them to build the lifestyle that they want. And like running into Ben activated within you that strength that you needed to have as an 18-year-old girl to be like, no, this is what I want. And I know that this means ending the connection with you, but I have to love me more than I love you. That's just the fact of the matter with Aries season. You have to love you more than you love anyone else. You have to have your own back. You have to build and advocate your own desires. Nobody else will do that for you. And maybe running into Ben was the universe trying to show you, like, you had the strength at 18 years old to choose yourself, and you will have the strength now, 15 years later, to also choose yourself when you're at this crossroads around choosing what somebody else wants and choosing the scary path of going at it your own, but living a life in which you feel like you've fully fulfilled your desires out of this experience. So not making it about the people, okay? It's not about the people. Contemplate what it could be revealing to you about you and your journey and the new start that is aligning for you with the Aries solar eclipse on April 8th. So we'll take it into our day-by-day analysis. I want to let you know that all times that I mention are PDT, so please adjust to your time zone before you put into your planner. I also want to highlight that I have timestamps available below should you want to jump to a particular day or jump back to a particular day that is available for you. You can also play with the playback speed to speed me up, to slow me down, to align my rate of speaking to your rate of processing. I also want to highlight if you're looking for a big picture look at April's wild astrology, there's a lot going on this month. I do recommend checking out my membership option here on the channel. It's called Magic Monthly. I craft you digital as well as printable calendars that have a little key that let you know what you can expect with April's astrology, supportive affirmations as you move through it, overall themes that you can experience. So you can check that out below. It helps support the channel as well as these weekly forecasts. Plus you get a cute little gold star next to your comments. So thank you so much if you're part of Magic Monthly. You can check it out by hitting the join button if you are curious on that. And let's go ahead and take it into Monday, April 1st. So on Monday, Mercury retrograde begins. So here's everything you need to know about Mercury retrograde in Aries from April 1st to April 25th. So Mercury is the planet of communication, thought processes, intellect. And with this flip of direction, again, Mercury is not literally going backwards through the sky. That's not how it works. It's just from our vantage point here on Earth, due to the ecliptic, it appears as though Mercury is moving backwards within degrees. So again, there can be an energy in which you're having to go backwards in some way. You can find that you're having to refine certain existing projects. You can find you're having to rehash certain conversations or renegotiate certain decisions. You can find that you're having to go back into the past. Hence why this tends to be a time that we are thinking about the past, and perhaps on the heels of that Libra lunar eclipse, which let me know how that was, by the way, you could also be contemplating the people that you were connected to in the past. And some of you could even hear from people from your past. I will say those who are the most likely to hear from people from their past would be Capricorn sun or rising. You could hear from a family member that you're no longer in speaking terms with. Sagittarius sun or rising, you can hear from past like flings or situationships. Libra suns and risings, you can hear from past partners, business partners, romantic partners. Gemini suns or risings, you can hear from past friends of yours or past mutuals on social media. Scorpio suns or risings, you can hear from past coworkers. And Aquarius suns or risings, you can hear from past neighbors or extended family members or siblings. Just some food for thought contemplating the house that it's transiting, but it has many other potentials. And I'm also speaking in terms of whole sign. You'll want to see where exactly within your chart holds Aries, because those are the sectors of your life that are likely to come up for review. You're being asked to complete the incomplete, cross your T's and dot your I's. And so it's important during this time not to bulldoze into new decisions or initiating new chapters, but that's going to be challenging because this Mercury retrograde is concentrated in the sign Aries, which is all about initiating new chapters and being at times a little reckless or hasty when we do have that fire, when we do have that drive. And so with Mercury retrograde in Aries, it could be an opportune time to go back to, past ideas that you were excited about and fully flesh them out to build upon them in terms of projects or things of that nature. But part of navigating April, you may need to go slow, double check, reread, not let this hasty impatience energy of Aries cause you to skip steps or make mistakes. Because I want to be so clear, when it comes to Mercury retrograde, we're not saying you need to pause life. Like, life goes on, still live your life. It's just saying with Mercury retrograde in Aries, be intentional with your language. We can find we're being a little bit more direct or blunt or brash with Mercury transiting this cardinal fire sign, and take this opportunity to review what is ongoing or even go back to past projects, past initiatives to finish them out or to gain lessons or data before bulldozing into your next chapter. Again, we have a solar eclipse on the North Node next week. Okay, so the universe is aligning your new chapter. Don't feel like you have to force things during this time or launch it while the fire is hot, right? It might be important during this time to keep that fire of desire and initiation and passion alive within you, stoking it with mindfulness, with precision, with rereading all of these Mercury retrograde themes. And a lot of this Mercury retrograde does have to deal with healing, as Mercury, while it's retrograde, will align with Chiron. And we got hints and previews of that last week with Mercury aligning with Chiron in the cosmos, so that could have helped you understand what this story is about. But that will continue to play out. And it's important to say, like within the vibe check, you ran into Ben and it was bittersweet. There's those energies of like, oh, but there's also like that pang around, ooh, what could have been, right? Or even just revisiting how painful that was to make a decision like that. It's not always easy to choose yourself. It's not always easy to choose what is lighting you up and where your path is taking you. Sometimes it does entail letting people down. Sometimes it entails letting yourself down. Like within your 18-year-old mind, you're like, I just want to marry Ben and be with him forever. But we are going in different directions, and that hurts to realize and understand. And so there can be certain painful realizations that are coming in. It could be something that people are telling to you. And for some of you, it just could be rethinking old wounds or old stories that could exist within you for the purpose of healing and clearing them out. Chiron's involved in the solar eclipse next week, which, by the way, check out my Aries solar eclipse all signs forecast to figure out what is aligning for you with this solar eclipse. But it involves Chiron. So it's not this Aries sort of fresh start where it's like, we're bold and courageous and we've never been hurt. It's embodied with Chiron. It's like, I've been hurt before. I know what it's like to have to leave behind someone that you love because your journey is taking you elsewhere. And showing up for this new chapter of your journey with vulnerability and authenticity around what it is that you have gone through and how that has made you the unique, radiant, authentic soul that you are currently. And that video will take you deeper into that. But with Mercury retrograde aligning with Chiron, we can be asked to reflect on past hurts or past wounds or past parts of our journey that are a little bit of, ouch, like I wish that could have worked out. Or I wish I didn't have these big desires that I had. I wish I could have wanted the small town life with Ben. Or even running into Ben, making certain comparisons to you, like, why am I not married? Why don't I have children? Did I make a mistake somewhere? Like, some stuff can be coming up with this Mercury retrograde and Chiron. Like I said, Mercury retrograde flips the direction inward. And with Chiron, there can be certain painful realizations coming to the surface for the purpose of clearing them, let me say. But definitely lean into this opportunity for introspection and reflection on your own authentic desires, on the person that you are, on potentially the person that you have been and how you are being launched forward to the person that you are becoming. And another important aspect that Mercury will make during its retrograde journey, which just really colors what this time and space is aligning for all of us, is that Mercury will square off with Sebastopol while it is retrograde. Now, if you are not familiar with Sebastopol, it's a comet that not all astrologers utilize, but it essentially is the god of things that are uneven. And so when Mercury is squaring off with this comet, there can be this recognition around what within your life feels off balance or what feels off kilter. You could just observe as you're just walking around that more people are shaving off half of their hair. You can notice more people are wearing off the shoulder shirts. You could just notice that people are a little bit off balance, and your life can feel a little off balance as well. Like things are not symmetrical, they're uneven. And I want to let you know that I'm totally messing with you because it is April Fool's. Did I get you? So I apologize. You know me, ruled by Mercury. I can't help but be a little trickster every so often. I guarantee that's the only part that is not factual within this forecast, is that Mercury will square off with Sebastopol. That is not a comet as far as I am aware. Hasn't come up in any of my studies, I'll tell you that. But alas, back to the real astrology. Okay, I swear I won't joke with you any longer. But essentially, with Mercury retrograde in Aries, as you proceed into this week and into the rest of April, just being conscious to be intentional with what it is that you say. Try not to react verbally in a very knee-jerk way because, like I said, with Mercury aligning with Chiron, you could be triggering people more often, you could feel more triggered more often, and you can find that your words delivered or words heard hit a little pain point, which again, isn't always our responsibility to moderate. Like as Ben tells you about his family, it hits a pain point, not because you're not happy for Ben and the amazing life that he's built, but because there is this pain point within you that wonders if you did make the right decision, that wonders why you don't have a family yet or why you're not married yet. Like it hit that raw point of you. It's not Ben's job to dance around the fact, right? Mercury in Aries is very direct, but nevertheless, it does kind of activate this little bit of like an ouch sensation. So we can't necessarily avoid that, but I would just say if you are delivering something to someone, Mercury in Aries is helping you being very direct, but try to be as loving as you deliver it as possible, just in case people are going through their own stuff, or it could be bringing up their Chiron stuff. So that story will continue to reverberate out. Let's talk about what the moon is doing, because the moon's up to some stuff, okay? Namely, the last quarter moon. So this is the official check-in point from last week's Libra lunar eclipse to next week's Aries solar eclipse. So really the entire window between these eclipses are fated events coming in and out of our world. The energy can feel very wonky. You could be feeling a little all over the place, a little bit more energetically and emotionally turned up. You might have related to my Sebastopol comet, even though I was making that up around things feeling a little off kilter, not because there's a god that rules things that are uneven. It's just eclipses tend to be a little chaotic. There tends to be a little bit of a hectic or frenetic vibe in the air, which is why it's extra important with Mercury retrograde to go slow, choose your words mindfully, choose your actions mindfully, take a beat before responding, all of that. But with the last quarter moon, it is essentially reverberating what the Libra lunar eclipse was revealing to you. And with the last quarter moon, there can be a call around what it is that you are needing to let go of. And the moon is in Capricorn. And sometimes we have to choose short-term unhappiness for long-term payoff. Like, it's important to highlight within that vibe check, that was hell, having to make that decision to break up with Ben. Keep in mind, I know it sounds dramatic, like high school breakup, we live, but really think about that time of your life. Think about your first love. Everything feels so dramatic, so intense. It feels so rare and so special. And that hurt your heart. But what would hurt your heart more is living a life that is not yours. And sometimes we do have to make that decision around, this is gonna suck in the interim. This is gonna be challenging to move through, but for my big picture, right? The moon is in Capricorn. For the world that I want to build, the ambitions I want to ascend to, I have to choose that person that I'm moving towards and not the container that I would need to be to fit in this relationship with you. I'm mentioning relationships because that lunar eclipse was in the sign Libra, which has to do with relationships, partnerships. And with the moon in Capricorn, sun in Aries, it's asking you to get real about your desires and how it is that you envision your big picture and what's not in the big picture as you envision those desires. And so you could feel at this turning point. You could feel at this crossroads. Some of you could be feeling like you need to make a decision between who it is that you have been and who it is that you're going to be next. We're in this transition period. We just got over the Libra lunar eclipse on the South Node, which is more so around releasing, grieving, shedding. We're not yet to what's coming in. So it's kind of like this energy of a monkey vine where we're letting go of our past vine, right? Like, this was not aligned, this relationship with Ben or this past chapter of my journey, but we haven't yet grasped onto what's coming in. And that's where that trust and surrender comes in, is that you have to trust that universe, source energy is orchestrating things for that next vine or for that next chapter. And it's hard to be in that trust when it hasn't yet materialized, but it is on its way. And with the last quarter moon, there's just a nudge around getting real with your own desires, getting real with what the universe is showing to you, and working that muscle of trust and surrender, even if it means having to be disappointed or upset or having to go without in the present moment in order to build the future that is truly yours, to build the desires that are truly aligned for you. It is worth it. Sometimes we have to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term payoff. And the last quarter moon could be making that apparent to you. So the last quarter moon exacts at 8:16 p.m. and you could be dealing with some big emotions, okay? The moon may be in its detriment of Capricorn, but things can feel heavy. The energy can feel really dense. And it's important when it comes to Mercury stationing, we tend to feel Mercury stationing quite clearly, quite strongly. You could be lacking clarity. You could be having a hard time voicing where these emotions are coming from or what you need. You can even just experience this just at work, more technical difficulties, feeling impatient with technology, like things could feel at a standstill. And all this Aries energy building in the cosmos, you could be feeling really impatient, right? To get to the other side of it, to get this task done. But it's important to breathe. Things are progressing, things are speeding up, things are accelerating, and sometimes we have to slow down in order to speed up. And what I mean by that is, rather than if you're having technical difficulty, try to click the button over and over again, hoping for a different result. Sometimes you have to take a deep breath, gather yourself, get out of frustration, and contemplate, okay, what can solve this problem? Or do I need to shift my energy and focus on something else? Same goes if a situation is in your life where you're looking for clarity and answers around what the next step is, but you're feeling at a standstill, you're feeling lost, nothing feels aligned. Sometimes it's helpful to just drop everything and pray, or drop everything and go within. Sometimes the answers that you're looking for aren't in the external world. Sometimes you have to get quiet and go within. And that might be important for the rest of the week's astrology, as we are in a waning crescent moon phase, which tends to draw the focus inward. And like I said about Mercury stationing retrograde, it also draws the focus inward. So go inward. But if technology is cooperating with you, I will say Monday does feel somewhat productive. We have a Capricorn moon, which we know the energy of Capricorn likes to produce high quality work. We're also feeling inspired to show up with the sextile to Mars. Keep in mind, Mars exalts in Capricorn, so there's a nice little flow of energy between those two planets, so we can be feeling inspired to do our best to show up, to overcome challenges, to get smart with the Capricorn moon sextile Saturn. If something's not working, rather than beating your head into a wall, trying to get it to fix, take that moment, drop everything, go within, contemplate. Is there a different way I can be going about this? Is there a different utilization of my energy rather than forcing, let me take this standstill, let me take this crossroads and take a second and find an intentional way of progressing forward is really the ask. So on Tuesday, April 2nd, the moon will continue on in Capricorn all day long, which is giving Tuesday's astrology this productive, efficient vibe. And like we were talking about yesterday, sometimes we do need to make short-term sacrifices for long-term payoff. And we talked about that mostly through the lens of having to make that difficult decision to exit a connection that was no longer serving you or serving your future and where you wanted to take things. But also this could be an energy around sacrificing the short-term comfort in the moment or the short-term pleasure in the moment for something that future you will be happy about. For example, taking this time to organize your shelf, clean out your fridge. Yes, there's other things that you could be doing with your time, some of which might be more fun, but now every time you open that drawer or every time you open your fridge, it'll make things a lot more efficient. It'll make things more clear. You have a clear look at everything that you have, because that's such a great gift around getting rid of things, is then you have inventory on what it is that you have. So you really know what it is that you have space to call in. And the reason I highlight that is because now, since we had the last quarter moon last night, the moon is beginning to fade into waning crescent moon, which is a time around release and letting go of things. And yes, that can be emotions, that can be completing the incomplete in terms of tasks and things of that nature, but it can also show up around releasing belongings, releasing objects. Like think of that sensation after you cleaned out your fridge and your pantries and you have an honest assessment of everything that you have. You find ingredients that you forgot about. You get inspired around new meals that you can make. And when you're at the grocery store, you're not like, do I have flour? Do I not have flour? You have a clear inventory on what it is that you have. You threw away everything that was expired, that was creating clutter within your pantry and within your fridge. And now you have a clear-minded, accurate look on what it is that you have currently, as well as what it is that you're calling in. And that's sort of the vibe with the waning crescent moon before the new moon. Again, this is solar eclipse, so it's a new moon amplified even more so, is around shedding and releasing so that we have space. You could go to the grocery store and buy more flour, but then you're going to put it by the 2 things of flour that you already have in the pantry because you can't remember if you have flour, and it just makes your life a little bit more cluttered. Versus taking that time investment to make future you happy, doing an honest assessment of what it is that you have and what it is that you need, allows you to call in the new start or invite in the objects or the pantry staples that can be the most beneficial at this point in time. And this does not literally need to show up within your fridges and your cabinets, but think about that notion around going through things. Again, it's a short-term sacrifice. You could probably be doing all sorts of fun things with your time, but now every time that you open, you feel more clear-headed. You're able to find what it is that you need, as well as you're able to figure out what exactly could benefit your junk drawer, right? You could be at the store and wonder, should I buy another tape? Do I have tape? If you take that time to really get an accurate assessment assessment of what it is that you have, what clutter you need to get out, you can be able to call in the new tape a little bit more efficiently. I hope you catch my drift. For some of us, this is showing up not so much physical, but emotional, energetic. Maybe for some of you, this is like business, needing to review stats of some sort, needing to review your goals so far, needing to review how the year has progressed to this point to set goals for the next chapter. Sometimes we need to look back in order to look forward. Sometimes we have to get rid of the clutter in order to call in what truly feels aligned and adds to our life, rather than adding more clutter energetically, or more clutter to our schedules, or more clutter to our lives. Let it go. And with Tuesday's astrology, so the moon will be in Capricorn all day, which is significant because Tuesday is Mars Day. So Tuesday is ruled by Mars, and Mars exalts in Capricorn. And so there is a vibe where we're wanting to get things done. It could be feeling good to get things done. Last night we had the Capricorn moon sextiling its ruler, Saturn. So there is this energy around wanting to streamline, wanting to work towards what it is that we want, wanting to dot our I's and cross our T's, so long as Mercury retrograde isn't throwing too many wrenches in our plans. And with the trine to Jupiter, it's feeling good to be productive. It's feeling good to get things done. It's feeling good to invest in your future self. It's feeling good to make your future self happy. Your future self is so grateful for the current risks that you are taking, for the courage that you are calling in this next chapter. Future you thanks you. And sometimes in the beginning steps, right, the baby steps, which is embodied by the energy of the sun being in Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, the baby steps can feel uncertain. It can feel like a risk, right? Let's say putting yourself out there on social media, if that's something that you're calling in, or enrolling in that kickball league, or whatever it is. At first, there will be that energy around, oh my gosh, can I do this? Do I look dumb? Do I have the courage to try something new? But future you is so grateful that you showed up for yourself and that you had the courage to take that first step. And again, the new energy is more so aligned with the solar eclipse, but there is an energy around reviewing the past and maybe even reviewing the first steps that you've taken on. Maybe this is an energy where you are reviewing the past, reading old journals of when you were journaling about how deeply you wanted to be a corporate event planner and live in a big city, and you're so grateful, like, gosh, that was so scary to set out on your own. Gosh, you had to overcome so many challenges. But me, present me, which is future me to past me, it's a tongue twister, is so grateful that you were courageous and that you bet on yourself. That's the energy of Aries season. Bet on yourself. No one will bet on you like you will bet on yourself. No one will get your dreams accomplished like you will. Bet on yourself. And so for some, you could be reviewing the past and just being grateful that past you took the steps necessary. For some of you, could be tapping into that future version of you and being emboldened around the new start that is forming with the solar eclipse around, hey, it's going to be messy, it's going to be raw, there's going to be points that I feel vulnerable in it, but future me is cheering me on. Future me is cheering me on. And it feels good to make investments in future me. That's the energy with the Capricorn moon trining Jupiter. It feels good to invest in future me. That's the mantra on Tuesday. Whether that shows up within investing energy within your business, within your family, within your relationships, within your home, it feels good to make decisions that benefit you within the future. And just knowing with the lunar phase, there's more so a focus around releasing, tying up loose ends, and clearing space for the new beginning. I also want to highlight the Capricorn moon goes on to square Chiron in Aries at 7:08 a.m. And like I said, Chiron is dominant both in the Mercury retrograde story as well as within the solar eclipse story. So there is a focus on Chiron right now. And Chiron is that energy of like the, ow, you know, those little pain points, those little wounds, those little energies of inadequacy, or those little energies around insecurity. Am I good enough? Could I be good enough to invest within my future self and move towards my ambitions? Did I make a mistake? Like I said, with Mercury retrograde, we could be reviewing the past. And for some people, having this energy around regret, was I too hasty? Could something have happened in a different way? Should I have made better decisions? Maybe I could have been a more successful corporate event planner had I done A, B, and C. It's important with the energy of Capricorn moon, really just striving to do the best that you can, knowing that there's always something that you can nitpick, something that you can criticize about the way that you are showing up. And part of Aries season is about embracing the messy first draft, right? Embracing new beginnings, embracing taking the first step, having courage, and however that's showing up, and releasing perfectionism or releasing needing something to be perfect before it is debuted, and just knowing that the most potent potent magic in co-creating your dream life is your own essence. It's not to say that you can't consistently raise the standard from what it is that you expect from yourself and from your work. That's the energy of Capricorn, always raising the bar. But at a certain point, this effort to be perfect will dilute your magic that shows up in just you being you. And with the Capricorn moon trining Uranus, it's also just this ask around embracing your novelty, embracing the ways that you rebel, embracing the ways that you do not fit in to others. It will be too much for some people. Those are not your people. That's not your target audience. That's not your customers. That's not your client base. There's such a difference between striving to be the best that you can be in this vessel, this personality with these desires, versus trying to be the ideal through everybody else's eyes. That's a huge theme of what we're releasing with the Libra lunar eclipse, is outsourcing our validation to others. I am good enough through other people's eyes, or when other people approve or validate me. We are really building that validation from within. We are becoming warm-blooded animals, right? We're not looking for external sources to warm us. We are generating it from within. And you showing up within your authenticity will be too much for a lot of people. And when we shed that need to be approved or validated through other people's eyes, it gives us permission to be competitive with ourselves. Be competitive towards striving to be the best that you can be, and do the best that you can do in your own magic. Being able to sharpen and refine your craft, your own magic. You can also have battles within yourself around, Haley, I want to initiate this new chapter. I want to be courageous and have my future self be proud of me, but it's got to be perfect. Like with the Capricorn moon, there could just be this battle between wanting to capitalize on this spark, on this drive, on this excitement, but also the energy of moon Capricorn being bogged down with, could I possibly do it? Or is it good enough? Or what have you, like feeling that conflict here. And then the Capricorn moon goes on to sextile Venus in Pisces around 9:58 p.m. and then sextile Neptune at 10:40 p.m. and the moon will be void at 10:40 p.m. and you might have some dreams on Tuesday night. You might feel more artistically inspired on Tuesday night. You might be really finding pleasure from a well-written book, or a well-edited video, or a well-expressed screenplay. Like, you could just be in the mood to appreciate excellence as it relates to the art that you are consuming on Tuesday night. And definitely might have some dreams, okay? Let me extend that for all of this week, because you know Neptune energy, it tends to kind of bleed out and soak up the surrounding days. You can absolutely be experiencing more dreams, a more vivid dream world. Like I said, with Mercury retrograde, sometimes we could be contemplating people from the past, so people from the past could be popping up in your dreams, as well as life could feel a little bit like a dream. Honestly, when we're getting closer to Neptune energy, you could have this very rich inner world, right? Envisioning and fantasizing. And again, I see some of you, you're getting caught up in fantasies of the past around, what if Ben and I had ran off together and this had happened, and creating this whole world. That's not how the cookie crumbled with Ben, so I don't know what good fantasizing about that world is going to do. And then some of you could be kind of projecting it towards the future, like really getting in this deep fantasy world around what could happen within the future or what have you. So definitely a dreamy energy, which can be helpful for creativity. This is a time of the lunar cycle that we typically do feel more inclined to draw inwards. You might find you're kind of in a hermit phase, just wanting to create and consume art in your own timing, be lost in your own inner world, in the daydream world. So on Wednesday, April 3rd, early in the morning time at 6:10 a.m. PDT to be specific, we have Venus and Neptune aligning in the Pisces portion of the sky. I mentioned this briefly the day prior, but I just want to say you could feel the Neptune energy build on Monday, Tuesday. You can feel it fade Thursday, Friday, and even beyond. A lot of astrologers use a larger orb for Neptune because the very nature of Neptune is to dissolve boundaries. And so it tends to make things a little murky and confusing. And you can really feel like you're just swimming through the abyss. You could feel like you are just swimming through the abyss and have no idea what's happening with your own life. Like I said, with the eclipse energy, it's like, you know, we're closing the door on something and we're waiting for the new doors, the new opportunities to come in, and we're not quite there. And with the energy of Neptune, there can be moments around feeling a bit lost at sea. As sweet as that interaction was with Ben at the supermarket, there's also aspects of it that makes you feel very untethered, in that suddenly you feel confused about your own life. If like you're happy being an event planner, and again, you have this decision to make with your current partner who wants you to move and give up what it is that you've built, but there's also this energy around just feeling lost at sea or starting to doubt yourself. This is somebody who used to be your anchor, and being back in their energy and being reminded all of that, now that you're really feeling their absence, you're feeling anchorless, you're feeling lost, you're feeling like a ship with no captain. And if you feel that, it's important to remind yourself, and sometimes you have to do this for you because no one will do it but you. You have to remind yourself, I am the captain of the ship. Like, we all have moments where we just feel lost at sea and we're like, what is going on? Am I capable or qualified to drive the ship of my life? You have to remind yourself, I've got this. I've got to take the wheel and steer to get to where it is that I want to go. Because sometimes with the energy of Neptune, we can just be feeling lost. Sometimes we feel this is just feeling very drained and confused. And like I said, the very nature of Neptune is to dissolve boundaries. So even just spending time with Ben and kind of merging into his energy field, now that you're coming back into your life, you're like, who am I? What am I doing? What is my life about? Am I going to be able to get myself towards what it is that I want? Do I need an anchor? This conjunction lands in Pisces, and Pisces as an energy, if you have dominant Pisces within your chart, oftentimes struggles with this energy around feeling not strong enough to survive this planet, feeling like this world is too harsh to make it. And there's parts around pulling your energy away from Ben, and also being this indecision of your current partner who is making you make this decision that makes you wonder, am I strong enough to survive on my own? Should I just choose to stay in this partnership even if it does not serve me? Like, am I capable enough and competent enough to go it alone? And the Venus-Neptune energy can make you in this state of confusion about that. But it's important. The sun's in Aries. That's when you need to say, I've got this. Even if it's shaking hands, taking the wheel of the ship of your life and steering it to where it is that you want to go. And merging energy with people, even if it's, in your dreams, or even, if you're in like a spiritual or telepathic energy, it can be very inspiring. Like, we can say you had this interaction with Ben, it kind of puts you in this more nostalgic, sentimental headspace. And so you went home and you wrote a little song on piano. Like, sometimes those interactions, like the wondering of what could have been, what was, can be great for the art. They aren't always so good for the heart, though. Like, sometimes it could just make things murky and confusing. In revisiting this love relationship, it's like no longer the romantic love it was in high school, but it could make things feel confusing. You could long for that time of your life. And it's beyond just Ben. It was just a very simple time of your life. It was a very pure, uncomplicated love, and there can be a longing to go back there. And again, with this Venus-Neptune energy, you could be like, I don't know if I can step into my future self, so I want to regress back into that time of my life because it felt more simple there. And I can romanticize and idealize what our life could have been like all day long, right? If I would have stayed in the small town, and if I would have been the one that he married and had children with and supported his plumbing business and all of that, I can romanticize and idealize what that would have felt like. And the thing about living in fantasy, which I do want you to be mindful of, be mindful of the delulu, okay, with Venus-Neptune, whether it's projecting into the future or reminiscing on the past, is that you don't know what that really would have been like. It's all good when you romanticize it, but you don't know the ins and the outs of what that reality really would have been like, if that would have made you truly happy. You have to go by what your heart is telling you and what your desires are telling you. I've always been someone who loved working. Shocker, with my Virgo moon and rising and 6th house sun, but I love to work. I've always loved to work. I got a job at the library as soon as I was able to work. And even before that, I would just always fantasize about what I wanted to do when I got older. Like, my favorite board game was Life. If you guys know Life, because I just thought it was so cool to think about all of these different paths you could take in life and all of these different ways that you can contribute to other people. Like, that was always something that I dreamed of. Like, I never really thought about, my wedding. I never really thought about having children. I definitely had crushes and was very boy crazy, but my fantasies were mainly around, work and career goals and aspirations. And that was always something that was really important to me. And in college, I didn't like my major and I was too far in when I realized that I did not like my major, to go back. I had this internship and I absolutely hated it. And I just felt like life was so bland and colorless. And that spark that I had around this excitement around working world just completely evaporated. And I just felt really lost. I was like, why had I been daydreaming about working my whole life? Like, this is the worst. This is the worst. And so I remember my lifeline, or the way that I was envisioning my future, that was the only way that I was able to cope during that time, was I was like, okay, Haley, you're dating this person, you can marry this person, and then they'll support you, so then you can no longer have to work in that environment. And I remember even when I was contemplating that, it just felt so not me, and it made me feel so lost, because this is something that I'd always wanted. It's like being in that ship and being like, I want to go there, and then all of a sudden the fog comes in, and you're like, ooh, do I want to go there? Am I able to get there? And so I was like kind of frantically looking around at someone who could anchor me, right? Or at least take the wheel and direct us somewhere, because I didn't trust myself to navigate towards my desires. I'd picked the wrong major. I hated my internship, and I kind of gave up on my aspirations or my ambitions at that time. I was like, you know what? I'll just marry this person that I'm dating. And for me, that notion made me feel even more lost, honestly. Even though it was like a lifeline, I was like, God, I cannot continue on in this industry. I need a lifeline. That felt like a lifeline to me, building my future around that. Even though that was a lifeline, it still felt so not me. And again, I'm not judging whatsoever anybody who chooses that path within their life, but I just knew it was not me. And I'm like really thinking about it, and I'm like, Haley, what would you have done? All day? Like, you love to work, you love to stay busy, you're always doing something. Like, I would just like fantasize about like waiting at home for him and just like reading all day and cooking and cleaning. And again, that would be somebody's perfect day, but it was never mine. And like, I'd always dreamed of this life and being able to contribute something that felt bigger than myself. I don't know, I just always have felt really lit up by work, and it made me feel so lost when I no longer had that. And I was like reaching for a future that would temporarily solve my problems. But even playing with that daydream, that fantasy, again, it wouldn't have been like that fantasy I was projecting around. You're going to read all the time, you're going to have hobbies, it's going to be so great. Like, reality is not like how we envision it. And maybe that was a vision that was helpful to get me through that period of my life of just feeling very lost and feeling very disconnected to the major I'd selected. But I don't think I would have truly been happy living out that fantasy. I don't think I would have been happy had I chose to go that path after graduating. And it's not a bad path. I just don't think for me that would have brought me happiness, truly living out that fantasy. That's what's important to keep in mind around fantasies. No matter how glossy we make it, or however rose-colored the vision is, or how much we romanticize it, it's not like that. And part of you in that interaction with Ben can wonder, what would have it been like if we tried? What would have been like if I would have just taken online college and stayed in this small town? And what would have been like? No matter how much you romanticize it, A, you'll never know, and B, it probably won't be that picture perfect vision that you are concocting within your mind and comparing your real life to. Like having a bad day at your corporate event planning job and just being like, oh, I could just be with Ben in our small town, raising our children, supporting his plumbing business. Like, why did I choose to go out and pursue this corporate job? Like, sometimes when there are hard moments or moments that we are temporarily lost at sea, we can look to other people to guide us or anchor us, or even project our fantasies around wanting and wishing for someone else to save us. But it's important to remind yourself, like, I am the captain of my own ship. I am the, what's that quote? It's evading me. I'm the captain of my I'm the captain of my ship. I'm the captain of my soul. What is it? Okay, we pulled the receipts. I know those of you who know this quote are probably like yelling at me through the screen, like, come on. But it is, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul, which is a helpful affirmation to repeat, particularly in those moments when you feel lost. You wish someone else would take the wheel. You feel like these waters are choppy and you're like, can I do this? I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And it's important to note that this aspect essentially marks the farewell of Venus in Pisces, which I would love to know, what have been your experiences with Venus in Pisces? Did you feel the exalted nature of this transit? I would love to know. Venus enters Aries tomorrow evening. But as we wrap up this Venus Pisces energy, it's important to know that with the energy of Neptune, some of us can absolutely get caught in this web around, you know, meeting someone and projecting this whole future on them, or reconnecting with someone from your past and wanting them to, you know, save you from your life, take over, steering the wheel of your ship, right? Or something of that nature. We could be getting really lost in fantasy with this alignment. And also, like I said, there can be muddied boundaries. And I don't mean in terms of consent. That should never be muddied. That should always be very direct, especially with Mercury and Aries. But I more so mean there could be energies around, what is this? Like, are we friends? Is this a crush? Are we exes? Is there potential? Like, you could be confused where it is that you stand with people. Like with Venus, Neptune, this is sort of the energy of those, you know, imaginary boyfriends, imaginary girlfriends, like those people that maybe you see at work, or you see at the library, or you see at the gym, and you have this whole internal world of them, but nothing is happening within the physical. Like with Venus, Neptune, it can absolutely be that energy where you're like at the gym and you're like, did they hold my gaze for a little longer, or is it in my head? Did they sound flirty when they handed me that Gatorade, or was it totally normal? Like, you could just be unsure of people's romantic intentions, or even, you know, if you do reconnect with an ex or something of that nature, unclear. Are we friends? Is this just friendly reconnection? Are you trying to get back together? Like, there could just be a lot of murkiness around matters of the heart. And this is something that is endearing about Venus and Pisces, is the boundlessness of love. Like, Pisces as a sign governs all that is infinite and eternal. And love is that way. That's why Venus exalts in Pisces, is because love is eternal. And it, like Neptune, it doesn't fit in boxes, right? It's not always so cut and dry, where the moment that we break things off with somebody, that all of a sudden those romantic feelings dissipate and evaporate that moment. We can have acknowledgement that someone's no longer aligned for our life journey, but still have that heart longing for them. Like, it's not so cut and dry. And you can love someone from afar. Okay, is really the energy with Venus, Neptune. You can love someone while also acknowledging that that's where the story ends in this lifetime. You guys can meet up in the next one. And that's where, when we get into the vibe check with Ben, just having that moment of gratitude, like, wow, I'm so grateful that out of all of these timelines, out of all of these incarnations, out of all of these lives, I'm so happy that my soul found your soul in this experience, in this timeline, that we got that sweet time together, like time in high school, and we just got to have this very pure, uncomplicated love. And maybe that's where our story ends in this lifetime, but that love continues, and who knows when you guys will meet up within a future incarnation. And that can be so bittersweet, because there's an energy where it's like, no, but I want it to be this lifetime. I want it to be this lifetime. Why can't we reconnect in this lifetime? But again, with Venus, Neptune, Neptune governs spirit, and sometimes you just have to surrender, or like taking away from Ben, because Ben is married in a family, so we're gonna leave Ben alone. But I mean, let's say if it's someone where you guys just weren't able to work it out, and with Venus, Neptune, it's almost giving it up to, you know, universe, source energy around, if we're meant to be, we will reconnect in the timing that aligns for all involved. And if it's not this lifetime, it'll be a future one. And it can be so heartbreaking, because we so badly want it to be this person, this lifetime. I don't want to wait for future lifetimes for us to reconnect. I want it to be this lifetime. I want it to be this love. But with the energy of Neptune, we have to trust universe, God, source energy will bring us together in the timing that aligns for us and all involved, whether that is this lifetime or a future one. Taking it outside of Ben, because Ben has a family and a wife, so we're just going to leave Ben alone. But let's say in a different scenario, if you just weren't able to make something work with someone, or just was so clear, like we're on different pages in this time of our life, our growth is taking us in different paths, like the Neptune energy could be replaying and trying to fantasize what would have changed to make it work. But sometimes your paths just take you in different directions. And with the energy of Neptune, it's just trusting when it's time for your paths to converge. If they're meant to converge in this lifetime, it will happen. And it is that energy of trust and surrender. And if not in this lifetime, a future one. And even just being able to appreciate the spiritual significance of that connection, how much Ben added to your life and awakened different parts of your soul, and even the triumph that it is that you got to have this experience, these chapters of your journey with this soul that you care about so deeply. And even just thinking back to the very first time that you laid eyes on Ben and just felt that instant recognition, like, I know you. Like, just think of the celebration that our souls must feel when, after all of the time and all of the lifetimes that have gone by since we've seen past souls within our soul family, and all of the different elements of our life that had to be put into place for our timelines to intersect in this moment, for that moment when you lock eyes with someone, like your soul finally rediscovers them and it's like, you, I haven't seen you for lifetimes. Again, within this vessel of you being you and Ben being Ben, you probably don't remember all those lifetimes, but your soul just has that recognition around you. I'm so happy and excited to reconnect with you in this lifetime and support your growth in this lifetime. You support mine. But when the time comes and that timeline is over, we have to just honor where we are being guided and honor that the universe is orchestrating things as they're meant to be orchestrating, no matter how sweet and pure that chapter was. It's important to allow ourselves to continue to follow our own, journey, our own quest, steer our own ship when the time comes that the paths need to diverge, and you'll feel that if that is the case. But I think it's such a beautiful thing to have those people on our journey that we have soul recognition with and that have helped our journey in such a profound way and awakened us and up-leveled our spiritual journey in such a profound way. But with the energy of Neptune, we have to trust that all is unfolding as it's meant to, no matter how heartbreaking that can be, or the what ifs, or what if I would have stayed, or what if we run it away together. You have to trust all is unfolding as it is meant to. And outside of the romantic elements of Venus Neptune, you could be feeling more artistic, more in the mood to create. You could just be feeling and like downloading the music that you're listening to your soul on Wednesday, like just feeling so profoundly, deeply moved by the art that you are consuming. What I will say, Wednesday could definitely be a day that your dollars are disappearing, okay? Venus Neptune is giving dollars disappearing, so definitely be mindful as it relates to online shopping. It would be a great day to make donations or things of that nature, as Neptune is kind of like that higher calling energy. But the energy of Neptune, sometimes we can dissolve the boundaries around how much do I have the bandwidth to give. So just being mindful of that. We're definitely in our heart space. We're wanting to give. We're wanting to see the dreaminess and the soulfulness within this experience. And like I said, Neptune energy can go delulu. And parts of Wednesday's lunar aspects is giving a little obsessive. And by that, I mean that the moon enters Aquarius, which does end the void. So again, the void moon started last night at 10:40 p.m. It goes until 2:03 a.m. when the moon enters Aquarius. And it goes until 2:08 a.m. when the moon enters Aquarius. And that's not necessarily the obsessive part. It's that the moon then goes on to conjoin with Pluto. And this, in conjunction with the Neptune energy, you could be definitely getting obsessed, like fantasizing about somebody or imagining what life could have been like, whether you're projecting that on somebody from your past or even just somebody that you know in passing or something of that nature, or pulling lots of cards, looking for answers. Overthinking spoils the magic. And sometimes when we're so deeply craving to know, like, is this my person? Are we going to end up together forever? Like, sometimes you just gotta go with the flow. Like, Neptune is the ocean, right? Sometimes you just gotta allow the waves to carry you and enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride. Don't feel like you have to know the destination just yet. Like, for some of you, there could be this weird Neptune sort of relationship. Are we friends? Are we crushes? Is there a vibe here? Like, there could be confusion. You could want clarity around, where is this going? Why do I have this weird soul tie to this person? Enjoy the journey, okay? We are in co-creation with the universe. Everything is unfolding as it's meant to. Don't feel like you have to get obsessive or get all the answers or figure out what this connection is or means at this present moment. Overthinking can spoil the magic. Just enjoy the journey, okay? Think of Neptune. Neptune is screens, mirrors, cameras. So think of a movie, right? We don't want to fast forward to the end when we learn that the two will be together forever, right? We have to enjoy the journey, enjoy the ups and downs, enjoy where it is at this particular leg in the journey, and try not to get obsessive. But outside of that, with Moon Pluto, your emotions can be quite polarizing on Wednesday. You could be getting quite paranoid. You could be getting quite suspicious. Aquarius moon, especially since we're in the waning crescent moon, you could be kind of retreating into your own world, and you could be really craving to hermit. My least favorite part of myself is that if I'm going through something, my tendency isn't to, reach out to friends or reach out to people that I love and tell them what's going on. Like, my go-to strategy is just avoid the world. avoid the world, bury myself in work, don't talk to anyone, don't leave the house, just withdraw into myself. And again, I don't know if that's the Aquarius placements, I don't know if that's Moon in 12th house, but I would just say if anybody relates with that, if you're going through it, if things are getting a little dark or intense, there's a lot of transformation, your tendency is to just withdraw, absolutely. Your solitude can be something that is renewing. I know mine most certainly is, but with the energy of Moon in Aquarius, strive to make an effort towards connecting with people or connecting with your friends. Like, you may not be in the mood to necessarily do that, but it is helpful to invest within those connections. It keeps you more in the world, because in that moment, it's just this energy around you're not alone. And sometimes it's hard to like work that muscle around intentionally creating conversation or reaching out for support or making plans, but it is helpful to keep you in the world, to keep you anchored. On Thursday, the 4th, I firstly want to highlight that Venus enters Aries in the evening time around 9 p.m. So for the first portion of Thursday, with Venus at the anaretic degree of Pisces, this can be too much of a good thing type energy, like 29 degrees typically charges this feeling of urgency and intensity. And with the energy of Pisces, you know, we are more romantic or more idealistic, but it's separating from Neptune. So we're also deeply in rose-colored glasses energy. We could be trying to fix people or save people or giving people too many chances or even overspending, overeating, overindulging in sweets. Like, there could just be this energy of too much of a good Venus by itself, like love and sweets and money and pleasure, like it's all good. But at a certain point of eating cheesecake, it gets to be too much. It's too rich, it's too indulgent, right? So just being conscious with Venus at the anaretic degree, there is such a thing as too much cheesecake. There is such a thing as, you know, spending too much money. Like, something stops being pleasurable when you overdo it. So just being conscious of overdoing it in the morning time. And then the evening time, Venus will enter Aries. So Venus leaves territory where she was very comfortable to territory where she's not so comfortable. Because Venus, to its core, is about attracting and magnetizing what it is that we want, whereas Aries is about the chase. It's about going out to get it. So with Venus entering Aries, we definitely can be more apt to flirt or to go after what or even who that we want. And again, that could be romantic interest, that could be money, but we can also be a little bit more reckless or impulsive or hasty, right? That's why I think Venus exalts in Pisces, because Pisces is a little mysterious. And what is seduction if not what you choose to reveal and what it is that you choose to keep hidden? And that shows up even beyond romantic seduction, as well as like persuasion. It's what it is that you choose to share in conversations, what it is that you choose to keep secret, or even clothes-wise, what it is that you choose to show, what it is that you choose to keep hidden. Like, nothing will truly be as tantalizing or as dreamy as what the imagination can create. So Venus in Pisces is about sort of leaving things to the imagination as it relates to love, as it relates to style, whereas Venus in Aries is about kind of that raw instinct, that raw passion, like that desire around, I want you, so I'm going to go after you. Whereas Venus in Pisces can kind of be a slow burn, or like that push-pull around what it is that you choose to reveal, what it is that you learn about this person, what it is that you fantasize about this person. That could be kind of romantic. Whereas Venus in Aries, not to say it's not romantic, but there could be an energy around, I want you, I'm going to go after and get you. This is what I want. No mystery about it. This is what I want, and you are what I want. I'm going to make that very clear and be very direct. So I will say that if you've been in a weird space, especially with the Venus-Neptune around, are we friends, are we not? With Venus in Aries, it should be clear whether or not somebody is pursuing you or liking you. People might be a little bit more direct, okay, with their affections. But with that being said, you could also find you're a little bit more reckless with your spending, okay, a little bit more impulsive with your spending. You can notice that your style with the energy of Aries, you're wanting to be more authentic, you're wanting to be more bold, you're wanting to be more fiery. So looking out for how that shows up. And also Venus's ingress into Aries is also kind of the energy when it's time to leave the grocery store, right? Like, you had this sweet interaction with Ben, you indulged in some daydreams around what would life have been like, or you got swept away in nostalgia. But at a certain point, you got to get back to your real life. You gotta leave the grocery store, right? Like, that's not reality. Like, you can project all day long what life would have been like had you stayed. You could project all day long what it would be like to reconnect with Ben later in life, but your real life needs you. And Venus in Aries is like, okay, it's time to get to the challenges and the conquests that await me within my physical reality, right? It's time to get out of the 5D and get back into my 3D. It's time to feel invigorated by my own desires, or what is lighting me up, or where my reality is asking me to show up up and to initiate. So this also kind of will lessen the Venus-Neptune energy if you were like kind of deep in fantasy, or even sometimes Neptune, we feel it as feeling a little bit more sad. With Venus and Aries, it's like, okay, we had our tears, we wrote our little poems, we fantasized about what life would have been like, but you know, that's not how the cookie crumbled, so let's get back to our job as a corporate event planner. Let's leave the grocery store. So for Thursday's lunar aspects, the Aquarius moon sextiles Aries sun at 3:45 a.m. Like I said, the importance of community with Aquarius moon, and with the Aries sun energy, maybe doing something playful or fun with people that you adore. I mean, this is quite early, many places in the world, but who knows? It can also just be this energy around empowering that your path is your own. Like when you reconnected with Ben and saw the direction that his life had taken and yours is taking a different path, that might have been a little bit of an ouch around, gosh, what would life have been like had I gone down that path or the normal route, and however that shows up for you. But with this energy of Aries sun sextile Aquarius moon, it's like, hey, this path is my own, and I'm intrigued and excited to find out what is in store for me on it. I'm open to the curiosity of figuring it out and finding out. With the Aquarius moon squaring off with Jupiter in the morning time around 8:43 a.m., you could definitely start your day a little bit more groggy or lazy, wanting to stay in bed. You know, Aquarius moon is everywhere but here. That's why Aquarius energy is so brilliant, because they just go different places within their own mind, within their own little world, right? And with the square to Jupiter, you could be very absorbed in your own little world. With the Aquarius moon sextile Chiron, this kind of adds on to that theme that I was sharing, where there can be something healing around honoring, hey, my path is weird. Like, it's a weird path. It's not the path that many of my peers have chosen. It's not the path that, you know, Ben has chosen, but it's my path. And that can be healing to answer to your own desires. That can be healing to prioritize your own desires. Like, we all have moments of feeling lost, of wondering, should I have taken my life in this direction? Would I have been happier had I stayed in that relationship, or had I settled for this, or what have you? We're all going to have moments like that. But the only GPS that you can listen to, it's not Ben, it's not what your friends are doing, it's not what your parents think that you should do, it's not what your family thinks that you should do. The only GPS that will truly guide you to the destination that you want to be at, you truly want to be at, is your own GPS, your own connection to source energy. So it's really important that you get to know your inner desires and allow that to be the loudest call. Because there will be moments, like even when you think about the breakup with Ben, like getting to this new college, not knowing anyone, like part of you misses that familiarity or that safety of having, you know, at least your ship with somebody else there, but you have to follow that nudge, that pull that's pulling you in a different direction. That nudge is your connection to universal source energy, which knows the timeline that it's orchestrating for you more than you do. You have to follow that. That's the only way to get to where it is that you truly want to go, to the best utilization of your talents and abilities, to the maximum fulfillment of your desires, to thine own self be true. That's a huge point with North Node in Aries, and that can feel scary at some moments to go out on a path that feels unconventional, but it also feel empowering and healing, right? Like, to me, when I finally rerouted my life and no longer was projecting my survival on this, you know, college relationship, I don't know how that would have gone. I started to reconnect with myself. I started to find things that I was passionate about. I started to get excited about what I could create within career. I stopped feeling resigned to my circumstances around, I hate my major, I hate my internship, so I'm just giving up on work. It was healing for me to find work that I enjoyed again. I loved my internship senior year. I did a huge shift of focus, and I really loved that internship, and that internship led to my 9-to-5. And again, that wasn't my end-all be-all, but there was something healing about reconnecting with that ambitious part of me that I had temporarily discarded. So there's something about reclaiming the very authentic, vulnerable parts of ourselves. Then around 1:24, the moon squares off with Uranus, so things might be not going according to plan. Might be important to rock and roll with the plot twists that the universe has in store. Keep in mind, Mercury is the trickster, okay? April Fools isn't the only time that you may get a practical joke on yourself. You might look at the universe and be like, really? Are you playing a joke on me? That's what Mercury retrograde can be about. It's important to laugh at yourself with Mercury retrograde. You know, getting playful with things with so much in Aries. Try not to take yourself so seriously. Try not to take life so seriously. You know, you can't do life wrong is important with Aries energy. It's like, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. You're going to try stuff. You're going to try stuff and get bored of stuff. You can't do life wrong. Either it works out or you learn. You can't do life wrong. So be willing to giggle at yourself. And then Venus enters Aries at 9 p.m. and the Aquarius moon will sextile Mercury in Aries, which can be helpful for conversations. Again, it could be conversations from within, just with Mercury being retrograde and us being in the waning crescent moon, but can be helpful for discourse, discussion. And that'll be the closing aspect for the Aquarius moon. So the moon is void at 10:40 until it enters Pisces the following day around 4:13 a.m. On Friday, April 5th, as I highlighted, the moon will enter Pisces at 4:13 a.m., which essentially ends the void moon that is, but you could be feeling like you're entering a void. The energy of this week does feel like the void. Like things feel a little murky and confusing, and there's certain chapters closing out and you're not sure what exactly you're stepping into. You could have escaped into this like fantasy world during that brief interaction with Ben and have to return back into real life. Like there could just be murky void-like energy that you're stepping into, even when the moon's not void. Okay, just think of the energy of the void where it's like, what's going on? What's happening? And I say that just because with the energy of moon and Pisces, there can be some elements of just dreaminess certainly, but also confusion. We're in the waning crescent moon, so there could just be an eye towards what it is that you are releasing and shedding in order to empower this new start. Friday is Venus Day. Venus exalts in Pisces, so how fun. We had the moon in Capricorn on Mars Day. Mars exalts in Capricorn, moon in Pisces on Friday. Venus exalts in Pisces, so some cute energy for sure. But you could be having emotions or things coming to the surface that isn't so cute. Like I always say to my clients, I'm like, if a lot comes up right before a new moon, it's because the new start that's aligning for you is more impactful. It's like the universe wanting to clear out the junk drawer, right? So that you have space for the new things that are coming in with this new moon. It's wanting to clear out the emotions that are not going to serve you with the new cycle. So just being conscious where that could be coming to the surface and flow with the emotions. You're going to feel emotional. You might feel a lot. This could be high emotions. This could be low emotions, but feel it all. It's the Pisces moon way. And you know, as the day continues, an emotion you might feel is honestly anger because the moon aligns to build with Mars. There could be frustration. You could be feeling annoyed. And now for some of you, you could be feeling motivated. Like Pisces is very spiritual energy. So you could be feeling connected to your why and showing up from that strong space because you feel so connected to your why. But for others of you, you could be feeling more impatient. You could be more impulsive with your emotions. And keep in mind, Mercury is in Aries, so more impulsive with your language as well. There can be certain emotions that you're confused by and it's coming through as anger or even just resentment if you're not being direct around what is bothering you. It's almost that energy when, you know, your partner asks you to pass the salt and you're like, pass your own salt. And it's not about the salt. It's like there's just other things that have been building and that was just the interaction where that frustration had a place to unleash. So always just important to be cautious of where it goes. But what I will say is moon aligning to build with Mars, you definitely can feel more inspired. You could feel more motivated to want to take action in order to get what it is that you want. You could feel more dialed in with intuition, with spiritual source energy. And if you are feeling more frustrated, I would definitely say work out. It would be really helpful to get some of that energy out of your body. And you know, something could feel hard right now. There's hard emotions, there's hard situations, there's hard epiphanies even, there's hard acknowledgements, right? When we rip out of the fantasy, we have to acknowledge the reality. Like, Ben's not in my world. Like, it doesn't do me any good to fantasize what would have happened had I stayed in a small town with Ben. Like, sometimes we have to face the music, which the moon building to align with Saturn early Saturday morning is making us face reality. And reality could feel a little crushing, right? The energy of Pisces moon, we could be wanting to swim back into our fantasy. Like, no, I don't want to deal with the stark reality and the challenges that await me when I fly back to the big city and I have to deal with this complicated situation within my relationship and I have to go back to my stressful job. Like, I'm safe in my little fantasy world. It's not real, but in my fantasy world with the life that I could have lived had I stayed in Ben, nothing can hurt me. And like I said, fantasy can be inspiring, it could be creative, but reality beckons and it just feels like a crash landing back to reality with the moon aligning with Saturn. On Saturday, April 6th, so as I highlighted, the moon will be in Pisces and it does align with Saturn at 3 a.m., which sometimes can be sobering reality checks. And this could just come through around having responsibilities. You have to handle the laundry, you have to get some work done on the weekend. Maybe there could be certain emotions you're having to face for the purpose of release before this eclipse. But we do have this empowering energy energy coming through on Saturday. Even if it had kind of a sobering start, we do have Venus now newly in Aries sextiling Pluto, which is this energy around feeling empowered moving forward. So again, when you ran into Ben, yes, you did get kind of absorbed in that fantasy around what if, but you left the grocery store. And you took the data around who was I in that relationship with Ben and why did the universe orchestrate this at this moment? Like, what am I meant to take from this? What are the similarities between who I was in this relationship with Ben and who I am in my current relationship? And like even being able to contemplate, I'm currently in a crossroads. 18 years old me chose herself and her ambitions. And now, 15 years later, what will I choose? Clearly, I'm a different person. I've evolved, I've grown, but I know what I want out of life. And what this person is proposing is not that. And if I could be reminded of my time with Ben, remember when I chose myself, even when this was my first love, I thought this was my everything, I can choose myself now too. Like I think 18-year-old me would be disappointed if I settled for a life that I didn't want at this juncture of my life when she didn't, right? She knew what she wanted. She knew that she wanted the life I'm currently living. Why would I give it up for somebody who is not in alignment with that? Venus in Aries can be a very independent energy. So like I said, we can be more forward, definitely, or direct when it comes to like conquest and dating, but it's also like this energy around, listen, there are many potential connections that I will have. There are other potentially even soulmates that I will meet or people who I will have soul connection, just as I felt when I locked eyes with Ben and when I locked eyes with this person. And me not listening to what I feel is right for me could be blocking the timelines of what I could experience with those people. Like it's not saying this energy around if something's broken with one person to swap them out for another. But if you've been kind of like settling or feeling like you have to accept less than what it is that you deserve or what it is that you want in a life, Venus sextile Pluto is like a reminder to empower yourself. There's many potential connections out there, and there's many potential connections that will allow you to fully be yourself and to pursue your own desires and your own life. So if you feel like you're in a connection that's making you be smaller than who it is that you are, putting you in a container that you do not fit, Venus sextile Pluto could be this reminder to empower yourself, understand that you are not here to fit into a container, okay? Venus in Aries, Aries is a fire sign, okay? Fire doesn't do well in a container, okay? You gotta burn brightly. Outside of that, you could also be experiencing this energy around empowering yourself financially, understanding there's new financial opportunities that you could pursue. For some of you, you could be feeling more empowered in regards to your aesthetic, like really wanting to craft an aesthetic that truly feels like you, not catering to a certain gaze or to other people's ideals, just being like, this sort of outfit or makeup makes me feel good and that's what I'm going to wear. That's what I'm going to step into. Because the most attractive person, okay, is oftentimes the most confident person. So if you feel like you're trying to fit into styles or aesthetics that aren't you, Venus in Aries is your opportunity to just be bold, be you. As long as you feel like yourself in your outfit, you will be magnetic, okay? You will be magnetic. And with the sextile to Pluto, it's embracing the transformations that your aesthetic could be having right now in this effort to find what truly feels like you, what makes you feel lit up and excited and just you when you step into a room. For those in committed relationships, I want to talk to this because Venus and Aries have talked a lot about, conquest and new connections. With Venus and Aries, this can be an invitation to inspire that light, playful energy into your connection. So, go play foosball, go bowling, get competitive with your lover, like infuse some fun, flirty, banter energy into your connection with Venus and Aries. And with the sextile to Pluto, it can provide more intimacy, more depth within your connection. And so we have that. So there's this opportunity to find empowerment. Again, we're still in the void, but there's an energy around we could feel excited about the void, excited about the new connections we can make on the other side of the current shifts, or the new money-making opportunities, or the new aesthetic that we could step into. Like, we don't yet have total clarity, but we're excited by the possibilities and we're empowered by the possibilities. And while the Pisces moon conjoined with Saturn in the morning, it also sextiles Jupiter and Uranus. So an amazing day to be open to surprises, okay, from the universe, be open to sweetness and how it may show up. And again, another night to be mindful of your dreams because the Pisces moon aligns with Neptune. So you could be feeling quite dreamy. Definitely watch the drinking if you do indulge in that. With the energy of Neptune, sometimes we could just want to escape into our own world and we cannot necessarily have a realistic grasp on our limits. So you've been warned. So on Sunday, April 7th, the moon will be void at 1:27 a.m. PDT. Closing aspect is a conjunction to Neptune. So if you do happen to be awake for those hours, you could be feeling like life is not totally real. You could just be kind of in a dreamland again, whether it's because of inebriation or you could just be deep in fantasy. Sometimes we experience Neptune energy as feeling very sensitive and drained, which is to be expected as we are building to the solar eclipse the following day. Speaking of, the moon enters Aries at 4:25 a.m. PDT, which essentially ends the void, should give a little boost of energy, and there is loveliness on your Sunday. There can be heaviness. We have the eclipse, but with the moon on Venus, you may need to actively pursue or find moments of pleasure or enjoyment, right? Like even if you want to just rot in bed because you're feeling a lot, like actively choosing, I'm going to put on my shoes, I'm going to go for a hike. I don't feel like it, but I know I'll enjoy it when I get there. Like there's something about putting in effort in order to find beauty or find enjoyment into your Sunday, and you're going to feel empowered as a result with the moon sextiling Pluto. And then for the rest of the day, just officially in solar eclipse prep. So reminder to check out the Aries solar eclipse all signs forecast to figure out what is aligning for you. And my loves, that is our week. So the Magic Monday mantra of the week is I am the victor of my circumstances. As we repeated within the quote earlier, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. This week with the Aries energy and with Venus sextile Pluto is asking us for empowerment. Asking ourselves to empower ourselves through the circumstances, as challenging and as scary and as daunting and as transformative as they can be. Seeing ourselves and centering ourselves as the victor of our circumstances. It's not saying that you haven't been done dirty. It's not saying that your fate currently might have a bit of an ouch to it, right? It's not saying that there are not circumstances in your life that you have been a genuine victim of. It's not saying all of that. But there's this centering around I am the victor. Things are hard, things are tough, but I will conquer the current challenges within my world. I will empower myself through the rocky seas that I am navigating, and I am qualified to be the captain of my soul. I am qualified to take myself to where it is that I want to go. There will be moments of self-doubt. There will be moments where I look behind me and wonder if I should have made a different decision or stayed at the island with Ben, right? There will be times when I cannot see my future ahead of me and I just need to trust my own navigation. But it's important to see yourself as a capable, competent, courageous individual who has the ability to take yourself to what it is that you desire out of this experience. And so really centering yourself and seeing, I'm the victor of my circumstances. I will overcome the challenges currently, and I will arise to where the universe is guiding me. Because that quote that we had talked about earlier, I'm the master of my fate, I'm the captain of my soul. This word fate, I used it earlier because eclipses are very fated times. And that might sound confusing. Like, Haley, if fate is something that's destined to happen, how could we be the master of our fate? It's not saying that you're pulling all the strings or that you are in complete control of the universe, but it's saying you see where fate is guiding you, where the universe is pushing you, or what doors are slamming shut, and you allow yourself to center yourself as the master of it around, okay, universe, I see what's coming up and I'm going to arise to the circumstances. I'm going to be the master of my fate. There's a phrase, amor fati, I'm mispronouncing that, but it essentially means love your fate around, you can either squelch this desire of where you're being pulled, you can either fight against the universe when it pulls you apart from somebody or shuts a certain door that you so wanted to walk through. You can scream and cry and yell, but at a certain point you just have to be like, okay, all right, universe, I see what you've dealt, and I'm going to play the best hand with what it is that you've dealt. And that's what, to me, being the master of our fate looks like. So thank you so much for watching until the end. If you did make it to the end, go ahead and drop the shopping cart emoji as a little shout out to your interaction with Ben this week. Or if you're joining on desktop or you don't have emojis or you just like to play the sentence game, use the word cart within a sentence to let me know that you made it to the end. My loves, I'm so grateful that we all gather here every single week. It's such a treasured part of my week, and I feel so honored that it's a treasured part of your alls as well. I want to thank you for the feedback that you gave on the format. It feels so good just being able to free flow. I know for many people it might come across as manic or all over the place, and that's why I used to tightly edit it and repeat myself multiple times in order to try to trim it and make it perfect. But people are gonna say I'm manic and all over the place regardless, even if I'm editing more, and it really has given me the gift of way more time. And it just feels good to flow and to not be in my head around, oh, were there planes going off, or should I say that better? Should I enunciate more? It feels good to just be in this space of just being able to be natural and organic. So thank you so much for the feedback. If you gave feedback when I had asked for it a couple weeks ago, so grateful for you. I hope eclipse season is being gentle on you. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.